Jeremiah 2. So these words of the Lord, I think, is like from his heart, and it's like I feel like a sense of like being betrayed when I read this. And so he first started out saying that they were like, where is their devotion like to him as when they were young, when they were following after him in the wilderness. But we know the story of that, and if that is their devotion to him, that's like like they many times anger him. They worship idols right away. They did a lot of things that were very like not faithful to him. However, he still considered that to be following him. He knows that at that time the land is not yet theirs. They just follow him in faith at that point. And so he asked, what injustice did their fathers find in him, that they went far from him? They walk after emptiness. They turn to like neighboring kings like Assyria and Egypt. They turn to idols, and God brought them into the land to have good things, but yet they came in and they defiled God's land. The priests, the rulers, the prophet, all like turn away from God and walk after things that were of no benefit. He's asking them, have there ever been anything like this done? A nation changed their gods when they were not God. They exchanged God, the true God, the God of glory, for that which is of no benefit. They exchanged the fountain of living water for broken cisterns that do not hold water. And they abandoned God, and they went to other places, and then they harmed the poor, because later on it said like the blood of the poor was on their like clothing. Their own wickedness, God said, will correct them. And they were going after their passion like a wild donkey during mating season. They had sexual immorality. The stain of their guilt is before him, and even though they wash themselves with soap, it doesn't wash it away. And then there was a point where he even says that they say to a tree that is their God. Okay, where is it? Yeah, they then say to a tree that the tree is their father, to a stone that the stone gave them birth. Basically, not realizing that God is their creator, they've turned into these things that they can fashion with their own hand. They worship those things and believe that those things are their creator instead. So they're where they originate from. And so God then is pretty much saying that they are contending with him and revolted against him, and they did accept his discipline, but he will his people forgotten him for days without number, for a long time. And they actually do this in the name of seeking love, and we see that a lot in our culture. Bunches of love song, bunches of philosophy regarding what love is, but no one really know what true love is apart from God. And then they God then tell them straight out that whatever they put their trust in, that will put them to shame. In Egypt, in Assyria, because God has rejected those in whom they trust, and God said that they will not prosper with those like things that they trust, because God rejected them. Assyria, Egypt, they will all go down, and they will be judged. And so even though it's really harsh, I think it's very like deeply moving to me. It's kind of like a wife. Well, God can't be compared to a wife, but in my mind, this conversation reminds me of a conversation between a wife or maybe even with a husband who has an unfaithful wife, and he is saying, why have you forsaken me? Like, why do you like disregard me, disrespect me, not love me, and betrayed me like this? Like, I'm not enough for you. And not only that, but you chose things that are not worth your time. You chose people that are not worth your time. You chose people who cannot protect you, who abuse you, who can't protect you, and you forsake me. And that was the tone or that I get when I read it, and I can feel like the hurt that God like has being treated this way. It's not like really anger, it's more like a deep hurt. And so yeah, I'm getting like emotional about it too, like just talking about it. But that's the heart of God. Like, he doesn't want us to go off worshiping idols, not because like he's jealous of them, but it's because that they provide no benefit. Instead, they lead people in a way of wickedness, not in the way of love, because God is love, and he leads us in the way of love, in the way of care, in the way of righteousness, in the way of justice. Whereas idols lead people into degenerates, into wickedness, into like falsehood, into unrighteousness. And so, and whatever you worship, that you become. And so many times God emphasized this, but yet people want free love. People want freedom to do what they want, not realizing that that very freedom is the thing that they are in bondage to. They're in bondage to lust. They're in bondage to pride. And it's just, and so it's just, when I read this, with that background knowledge, I just feel so hurt for God.